So I kind of want to go through what the history of pricing and what the region has done, or my view on this. This is my view, and where I think that we need to change as an organization and as pricing experts. Specifically, I'm looking at pricing in this area, but also this has other effects on things like after-sales systems, inventory, and other areas. So just to introduce myself, James Henderson, Head of Pricing and After-Sales Systems for Al-Futtaim Global, which means that's everything in the UAE, but also Africa, Sri Lanka, etc. So my responsibility is the entire after-sales of Al-Futtaim. So I'm not the Toyota guy, I'm not the Honda guy, I look at this as a whole. And I have operational responsibility of everything in the UAE and some areas international as well, just to give you an idea of what I do. That's on pricing. As far as after-sales systems, I am not the IT guy. I'm not the technical person. So Roberto is effectively my IT guy. He's the head of our technical team. So he's the one who's responsible for actually building the things. My responsibility is to try and tell him what I want, right? So he has the technology brains, I talk to the business people, and I'm the conduit between those two things. That's kind of my role. So I'm not a technical person, just the one who can talk to both, right? The translator, let's put it that way. Okay. So to talk about the history in the market. So this is a number I got from a third-party consultant about the vehicle sales in the UAE. And I think this shows what happens and how we've reacted as a country to these vehicle sales and how after sales has reacted. So kind of 2009 and halfway through when I go here, we basically had an issue where our biggest problem was supply, right? We had customers waiting and queuing up to buy our parts, queuing up to buy our cars. So our focus was around, do I have the right inventory? Can I buy more? Can I build a bigger warehouse, right? As far as our pricing was concerned, we did a cost plus model. We just said, I want to make X percent. I put that on there, and as long as no one really complains, we just push that out, right? And we had a very good time. This is a nice time to be here. And if anyone knows how to get back to that, please let me know, okay? Then we kind of had a big decrease, right? And the market changed significantly at this point. The amount of vehicles on the road was dropping. After sales was still fine because there were still new vehicles out there. But what we saw is that all the people who have been building their companies on this progressive growth pattern suddenly went, okay, there's no one else to sell to. I will take yours, right? And we'll take theirs. And everyone basically started cannibalizing on each other. As far as pricing is concerned, we went from this really nice high price, which didn't really matter. And we then started saying, actually, guys, I'll give you 10% off, buy from me, not from them, right? We started getting competitive in the market. We stopped dropping our price, which led us to kind of when we were coming into 2019, our prices was extremely high, but with massive discounting, right? Which was okay. But we then had the next massive effect, which was COVID. So COVID, other than the effects of the world and the supply chain, the biggest effect on the after sales, in my opinion, is it changed our customer behavior. Instead of them coming to us and expecting to go and drive into a service center, they started saying, well, if Talabat can get me a pizza in 30 minutes, why am I driving and sitting 6 hours in a really boring Toyota showroom? The fact that we put a PS5 there is not something that they care about anymore, right? So they're changing this. And the rest of all those smart, younger people also woke up and went, I'm going to build my own company. I don't really care about servicing cars. What I can do is I can give you an app and I can tell you, I'll pick up your car, I'll drop it off of this guy who can service my car, and he will do all that on your behalf. So it changed our entire setup. This was coming anyway, right? This was the future, but at that point, it was the future that was a few years ago. Now that future has been accelerated several years to where we are now, and we need to move faster and change that. When it comes to pricing, this means that the methodologies we historically use are just nonsense, right? Because if I go online and you say, I want to buy a tire, and I say, yep, that'll be 2,000 dirhams, and someone else says it's 500, it doesn't matter that my guy can say, actually, I'll give you 75% discount, I'll give you that, we'll put in some nitrogen. We don't have that conversation. People do not come to us and do not discuss this. So we cannot utilize our sales team, right? We just lose our customers, which means we had to look at our pricing completely different and start again. And we need to start saying, how do I make my pricing fair? And this is why I kind of want to go through my understanding of the evolution of pricing. So when I started looking at this, pricing was effectively an admin role of finance. Okay, we worked out a cost plus model. We said, this is the thing, this is the amount. The decisions we made were cost break-even analysis. If I drop it down by 20, will I still make money if I sell 50% more? Right? It was basically finance and bookkeeping. There wasn't a lot of intelligence. The future we need to get to, and I'd love to say that Al-Futtaim is there. We are not there. This is our aim. This is where we're getting to. I have to say that because there's enough people in the room who know where we are. So, but we're getting there, and I'll give you some examples that we've done well on. Is this. My understanding of pricing comes down to these three main areas. There's still the finance stuff, there's the mathematics, right? But instead of just being a basic financial thing, it's now real mathematics and statistics. We need to do things like trend analysis, elasticity modeling. You know, we need to look at the market factors from multiple different areas, right? It's not just a basic Excel sheet anymore. The next area, which historically was never really looked at, is psychology, right? Because as much maths as you throw at pricing, it's never going to tell you that if you sell something for $199, you will sell more than if you sell it for $189, right? This is because there is a lot of factors which is based on human behavior on making pricing decisions. And therefore you need to take that thing into account, because if you don't, you effectively are just running this on maths and it will fail. And the third part is systems, right? Without systems, you cannot price now, right? In the way that we need to do in the future, Excel does not work, right? You know, the amount of data points that we take into account to price a single oil filter at the moment is over 1,200 data points, right? To make a single price for a single customer. So as much as we like Excel, and we still do, but we need the system to support us, right? We need and it's not just Syncron price, right? Syncron price is our operational system, but it's also the data links, right? We need to pull all this information in a cleaned and managed way. So the kind of making sure we have customer data, item data, service data, IoT data is key. So that's a critical part. The pricing operational systems, because we are repricing our parts on a regular basis, and we need something that can take all these things and make these effectively massively complex decisions almost instantaneously. Yeah. As well as also ways of getting that data to our end customers. How you show this data and how you show a price is as important as what the price is. So I want to kind of go through a couple of examples where we've utilized some of these areas and try to explain some benefits that we've seen. They're all fairly vague numbers and made up percentages just because you're all my competitors. So, but the first one is a fleet customer. So this is one of our largest fleet customers. And what we wanted to do is say, how do we change their price? Now, historically, the way that this always worked, they came and told us we're overpriced, we would drop our price continuously, and we ended up making next to no money. So what we did here, and this actually is, I'm going to say thank you to Kishore on this, because there's two parts on this. One is our pricing, but the other thing is that we utilized the tools and the expertise we had within the company, which for us wasn't particularly hard for us to do. So we used Kishore's team and his warehouse team to support them in redesigning their warehouse, support them on their inventory setup. For us, I don't think we hired anyone. We utilized fairly simple the people expertise we had, but for them, this was a significant value add. So thank you, Kishore. But what we did then is this was our old pricing setup. So these are just generic parts, okay? And what we'd done is that the price that we sold our fleet was on a different price list to what they were seeing in the market. So whenever they came and looked at our pricing, what they did is identified and said, guys, you guys are ripping us off. You know, I can buy part D for 30 dirhams, you're charging me 60. You're making 50% margin on this part. You guys are just thieves, right? Same on part A. And that's because that's the only ones they look at. At the same time, we have a load of parts where we were actually half the price of the competition, but they didn't see this, right? All they see is the ones that get bought up. because obviously someone in their team has found this and gone, I can make you money, gets put up to senior management, and that's where it ends up. So the first thing we did on this is we said, okay, we will align the price. And what we actually found when we aligned the price is we made 0.5% more margin, right? Just by aligning the price, right? So the oil filters that they're all complaining about, we said, yeah, we'll give you half the price off. It's now aligned to our platinum dealers. We're great. But then the engines, which they're buying like 10 of, I'm now making an extra 20,000 dirhams on, and they don't know about it, right? That's why I'm not telling you what the company is. Yeah. But then what we did is we gave this value. We said, look, we can't give you this for free. You know, we need to support you, and this is going to cost us money. And we put a factor on there. And then we showed them this price list. And we said, this is the new price list. This is to take all this into account. And there was not a single argument about that price list. Not a single person said, you're too expensive, you need to drop this down. And our total was a 15% increase, right? Which is unheard of. Like in the past, to get 0.5% from someone was like pulling teeth, right? Did all this without any arguments. And then I actually went to some of the other team in the fleet team in units and told them what we did. And the guy, James, you can't do that. You can't give them that much. They're going to kill you, right? And I said, I've already signed it. Done, right? And it's based on using the right information, right? Having the right market intelligence and the right systems. Understanding what the customer actually wants is key to this. Another example is cash SRSP. So this is our selling price of items across the counter. So this was our main area that we kind of kicked off on this at. So what we got told, or what I got told when I started on pricing, is you can't take away discounting. In the UAE, this is a discount-based culture. It's impossible, right? If you do this effectively, I think we're just going to have people lining up to shout at the dealer principals, right? This is the culture we live in, right? I ignored everyone, and I went ahead and we did a trial. We did a trial on about 10% of the things. But what the old way of doing this was, I've obviously got brakes on my mind rather than brake pads, but is we went and said, okay, massively expensive brake replacement, 1,200, but don't worry also, I'll give you a discount, right? This, I've been and done this myself and gone, and this is what my service advisor would tell me before I asked, like before I said, can I get a discount, or, you know, do you know who I am? It's like straight away, I'll give you 20%, don't worry, I'll talk to my manager, we'll sort this out, right? And then at the end of this, you go away saying it's 1,200 to fix my brakes on my car. These guys are just ripping me off. But then we give away 620 of that, and we sell for 480. But I've had conversations with those people, and I say, how much did it cost in Al-Futtaim to fix your brakes? They will tell me that price. They'll tell me they charge me 1,200, right? That's the price they understand, right? That's our perceived value. In addition to that, if you go onto servicemycar.com, that's the price. Then they say we are 50% cheaper than the distributor. The fact that I'm selling it for significantly more doesn't matter, right? Except for me, because I don't make that money, right? But we get the worst of both worlds. We get the negative perceived value, as well as none of the money to support it. So what we did is really simple. We just put the price right? We said, in the past, we allowed up to a 60% discount at certain levels. We said, you're not allowed that now. Maximum you're allowed is 8%, right? And we put the price approximately where we'd be. Not market value, slightly above it, because we're the distributor, we can show some value for being a distributor. We put it slightly above. And then what we found is that only 18% of any customer actually got or asked for a discount. And the average discount that we gave was 3%. So makes life easier. And then we talk and we do our net promoter scores and we do our customer feedback surveys, and everyone's saying, yeah, price seems about right. Yeah. Because people understand it. Yeah. And also, you don't have the fear. The other issue you have on here on the customer journey is you drive in, you get, well, 1,200, my manager will sort you out. You walk away with a 1,200 bill, right? And I'm like, okay, do I have enough money on my credit card to pay that? Can I sort this out? You know, even though it's less at the end, you've got that fear. Here, it's 600. Yep, 600. But this is critical. This change that we did is not only critical to support our customers, this is also critical for the digital journey. Yeah. we're launching new websites, we're launching new ways to get to our customers, where we want to be very open and transparent to our customers, I cannot tell them that price, right? Because that will kill them, right? I can tell them that price. I'm happy with that price. I know it's not necessarily the cheapest in the market, but that's about where we would be. So there's two examples. I just want to kind of explain a little bit about what we're taking into account when we're making a price decision. So I said we're over 1,200 data points in any price decision, but part of those, just to kind of group it up, is stock. So we've got a lot of integration between our inventory and our pricing system. So anytime that we have excess stock, straight away, that gives us an alert into our pricing system and say, can you drop this down? Can I put like a 1-2% drop? Have a look at the elasticity of that. And therefore, we're seeing the amount of excess stock that we're building up that gets into age in the end is reducing. So straight away, early days before anyone really notices it, right? So these alerts are coming in as containers are still coming into the port, right? It takes 3 months to get the parts in. By the time they actually land in the warehouse, they can already be in excess. Straight away, we know about it, we start working on it, right? Because there's a life cycle on all these parts. In addition, the other way around is, if I drop the price and say, I want to get rid of this, this will go into our inventory system and say, don't order this anymore, right? James is basically writing this off. Please stop here and don't place any more orders, which means that historically, as much of our processing systems, we've bought things in the past because I sold it off below cost. And then Kishore's team is going, oh, great, sales are up, I'll buy some more because this is great. So that doesn't happen anymore. The integration on this basically is fully integrated and supported. Costs, I think, are self-explanatory, but this also allows us to do things like understanding our suppliers' costs, actually discussing our costs with suppliers. We have analysis to understand how our costs going outside the market area. We're also doing analysis on things like freight costs in other areas to be able to take all that into account. So, where we're buying it from is important. Perceived value. So this here is a very easy thing to say and almost impossible thing to do, but we do this through a lot of kind of A/B testing. And we're sort of saying, if I sell this here and I sell that there, if I do it this price, what's the effect? And eventually we start to get to factors to say, actually, tier 1 location can have a 12% increase of price over to our tier 2 location. Competition pricing, as much as we legally can get, so to understand what the price actually is in the market. External trends and factors, what's going to hit us. Things like exchange rates are critical to us, because of and oil pricing, because a lot of people are coming here because of the oil sector. If the oil price drops, then we need to take that into account. The other thing that we're only starting to take into account now, which we never really looked at, to our shame, is things on retention. So it's not just a case of, can I sell it now? We now say, can I sell it now, and will the guy come back? So we're starting to look and say, what's the effect of, if you come and your engine's gone, right, 95% chance you're paying whatever I tell you, right? But if I put that price too high, you're not coming back to buy it again, right? You're going to go and get a Nissan, right? So I don't want that. So that's the plan, right? So we're looking into this to make sure our pricing is aligned to this. And then the last thing is sales and channel management. We need to be careful to make sure that we don't cannibalize our own business, and we make sure that we set up the channels how we want it to. We try and get as many people into tier 1 as possible, into tier 2 as a backup, and then we go through our dealer channel as a last resort, right? Instead of it just going straight to dealer channel because the price is so much better. So owning that entire channel is also critical in making any pricing decision. So this is kind of a high level. As I said, each of these have got hundreds of different data points in them for each part. Last thing I kind of want to talk about is the future. Unfortunately, the future isn't as far away as the past. Right? I've sat and had these conferences since I started in the automotive industry, where they tell me about EV and smart driving and subscription-based models, right? And we go, oh yeah, theoretically that's going to be interesting. Let's look at that in an academic way. Right now, we're launching our first EV vehicles, and we're looking at the details on how do we actually deal with this? How do I stop losing money on my EV vehicles? Which is hard, right? Because I said, we just don't. I looked at the list of parts. My first question was, is that it? Is that everything that we need to do? Can I not do anything else? And 30,000 is how often we have to service it. and then effectively there's a single filter you need to change. I looked at the brake pads, I was like, okay, fine, we're going to do brakes. That's where our area is. And I'm being told that a cautious estimate is 120,000 kilometers on a single set of brake pads, because the engine will brake on your behalf. And actually, if you use engine braking, which is entirely possible, you never change your brake pads, right? This is hard. This is the killer, right? This is the thing. Yeah. Self-driving car as well. You know, we're not there yet, but what we are seeing is that we have a lot more safety systems. We have a lot more things that are affecting us. And what we're seeing is the amount of body and paint that's happening is reducing, right? This is hitting us now, right? Then I think we kind of need to look at the other things where our opportunity is. Okay. So these are the things that are going to kill us if we stay the same. These are the things where we can potentially change and create a business. Subscription, uptime, shared ownership is where we need to get to, because I cannot charge you for fixing the car if the car's not breaking. What I can start doing is looking at this as a subscription model. I'll make sure your car works. I'll make sure you have a newest car. I'll make sure you have X, Y, Z. Start getting the value that people perceive the ownership of a car right now, and put that into a subscription model before it's too late. Right now, we need to all start working on this, right? Because if we don't, what's going to happen is our costs are going to drop down, and then I'm not going to be able to get that back from a customer. Because our customers are going to be like, well, I had this before and I paid like $2,000 a year, about 10 years to fix my car. Why would I pay so much for a subscription? Right now, they're used to the price. This is the area we need to really work if we want to have a bigger business in the future. This also changes as far as who we deal with. We need to do more on fleet management, because we are not going to be dealing with customers. End of this, you know, the big showrooms and the big service centers, they're going to disappear. It's going to be fleet-based service locations. It's going to be dealing with things that the fleet cares about. It's uptime. It's about how do I get it into my service center and out to my service center quickly? How do I ensure that we don't have the car off the road for any period of time? That's the future. That's where we need to look at. That's how we add value, and that's how we make money. This is where we need to look at. Little comment on this. So, as I said, all of this is basically happening now. So, Al-Futtaim has just launched Al-Futtaim Move, which is our first subscription-based system. It is not what we are talking about, or not Accenture are talking about. We're not there yet, you know, but it's the first step towards that, you know, to set up that subscription-based thing. At the moment, it's basically rental, but slightly off. But it's where we're looking to get to, and we're trying to move there as quickly as possible. At the moment, it's about creating that customer base. Then it's talking about how do we optimize that. But this is where we're going to, and this is where the future is. That's my 2 cents. So,
thank you very much, sir.